So you think that O'Malley has no chance at all?
I think that, man, see, here's the thing. O'Malley's chance is, in my opinion, winning by decision. I don't see him beating Piotr Jan. I don't see him KOing Piotr Jan. I just don't.
Yeah,
I know
no.
he hits hard. I think Piotr Jan's too good to get KO'd by O'Malley. I think that O'Malley KOing Piotr Jan is like by luck or like 1 in 100. Like I think that it's so unlikely. I think that it's much more likely that this fight goes to a decision or ends by Piotr Jan being a TKO. But if it goes to decision, you have to think about it like this: Piotr Jan is a slow starter, but he's a slow starter in his 5 rounders. Like he's losing a round to Corey Sandhagen in round one. He's losing a round to Aljamain Sterling in round one, even though he dropped Aljo in the first fight. You know, some people still had Aljo winning that first round, but he's fighting 5 round fights. Like his approach to a 5 rounder is a lot different than his approach to a 3 rounder. And remember when he fought Aldo, he hurt Aldo in the first round. Like he fucked Aldo up in the first round. He almost finished Aldo in the first round. I think he landed like a really, really vicious body shot on Aldo, a liver shot when Aldo was on the ground. He knocked Aldo down, hurt him badly to the body, and then the ref stood them up because the round was over. Piotr Jan is not this super slow starter, especially, in 3 rounders. The way he was winning his 3 rounders was by knocking dudes down in multiple rounds. And that's what Piotr Jan does. Piotr Jan can get outstruck. He could get outstruck. He can get outvolumed. He can be fighting a guy who's at range. His hands are too fast. He's a better boxer than Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
He's way tougher than Sean O'Malley. He's way better grappler, a way better wrestler. He's got insane trips. That's another thing that people are forgetting. He doesn't need to shoot for a takedown. He can clinch and trip Sean O'Malley like he was tripping Aljamain Sterling. His judo is phenomenal.
Yes.
And I think he either knocks Sean O'Malley down, which I see him happening, like Chris Moutinho not walked down Sean O'Malley and took all of his shots. Now, obviously, Chris Moutinho sucks, but I think that Piotr Jan can walk him down and actually land counter shots. Like Piotr Jan is going to walk down Sean O'Malley and actually land combinations because Piotr Jan's boxing is the best boxing in that division. I don't see anyone that's better than him.
In the UFC.
In the UFC, even. His hands are so fast and he hits hard. I think that he could knock down Sean O'Malley. I think that he can trip Sean O'Malley. I think he can judo throw him. And I think that once Sean O'Malley's on his back, Piotr Jan follows up, jumps on him, and beats the shit out of him on the ground. I just think that that's how it goes down. I don't think that Piotr Jan could win by decision. Piotr Jan is just the more well-rounded fighter, and I really think that if he takes down Sean, which I think he can do it, I think he just needs to get Sean on the ground by knockdown, by a judo technique. I think he wins by TKO, and I genuinely think that, remember, Piotr Jan's coming off of a loss to Aljamain Sterling. He thinks that he may have won that fight. He's probably pissed. He's probably going into this like with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to be vicious. He's a next level. Like the dude is hard as nails. Sean O'Malley's chilling with the Nelk boys. Like Piotr Jan's one of the hardest guys ever, bro. He's from Siberia. Like he's a fucking he's a tough motherfucker, bro. And Sean O'Malley's tough too. Like he's a UFC fighter, but is he really like any tougher than the average UFC fighter? He's more skilled than the average UFC fighter. He's not tougher than the average UFC fighter. I think Piotr Jan is not only more skilled than the average UFC fighter, he's tougher than like basically every other fighter that there is. I think it's just too much for Sean. It's like for me, it's essentially Volkanovski fighting. I think it's like Volkanovski fighting maybe who's like a flashy guy in that division.
Arnold Allen.
No, I think it's like him fighting a Yair Rodriguez in a way, except Yair Rodriguez if he hadn't actually gotten any big wins.
Or if he had KO power. Yeah.
If he had yeah, exactly. Like that's true. But I think that I think that man, I think it's done. I think he's fucked, bro. I really
Let me
do.
let me ask, like, is there any way that Sean comes out that fight with a loss, but still like people like recognize him as like elite?
Yes, I
You know what
think
I'm
Sean
saying?
O'Malley could put up a good fight because here's the thing. Sean O'Malley's skills are still really good. His striking is still really good. I think his striking is like high level. I think he's an elite striker. I've seen that he's an elite striker. I just it's his durability, his toughness. I'm not even talking about the legs. You just look at him like he's not like he's long and lanky. Like those aren't like John Jones is an example of someone who's long and lanky, but is tough as nails, like super durable. But I don't think Sean O'Malley's like he's gotten so many injuries throughout his career. He's gotten his legs damaged and hurt in like multiple fights. And I just think that when he goes to the ground, I think it's done. And maybe a little bit of me is referring to that because we saw Cheeto finish him off on the ground, but I just don't think he's got like Jan has been to the ground with Aljamain Sterling. You know what I mean? I don't think Sean O'Malley can be a badass in jiu-jitsu in the training room. He's never proved it in a fight.
No, no, no. I don't really understand why Sean took this fight, honest. I like
The
I
more I think about it, the more I think like it's bad. I just
I think he's delusional.
no, but here's the thing. I think that I've seen a lot of his interviews recently. I've seen a lot of his videos recently. He's really giving Piotr the respect. Like he's saying, like Piotr's really
I
good.
think he knows. I think he knows he may
He's
lose.
starting to. It's starting to. I think he's starting to understand like that he got himself into like. But I think it's good because he's probably training harder than he's ever trained for this fight.
Yeah, no,
I
I
just
mean,
think that it's like I respect him for taking it. I think that there's a chance
early
that
though.
Sean O'Malley could hurt Piotr. I just think that I think that you know the Sean O'Malley's the most likely thing that's going to happen that'll be good for Sean O'Malley is that he like puts up a good first couple rounds and then the third round he gets finished or something like that. But of course he could KO Piotr Jan. That could happen. If that happens,
I
like
can't
I'll
see.
be happy because that
I
means
can't
like
see
there's a
that.
huge star now in the UFC. But I don't see it happening.
I
Like
can't see that
that's
happening.
like Volkanovski getting flatlined KO'd. Like I just don't see that right now. And I think that Piotr Jan's got a better chin than Volk. Volkanovski doesn't have the best chin. Like
Oh
he's
no, Peter Yan's never been.
Piotr Jan's got a way better chin
I
than
Peter Yan's never been knocked down
never been knocked. Yeah,
from what I
exactly. So
remember.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like it's even less likely than that happening. And Piotr Jan is a good guard. Like he's got good
doesn't
boxing
get
defense.
hit much. He doesn't get
Doesn't
hit.
get exactly doesn't get hit clean that much. Like he's kind of like Cheeto, where if he gets hit, it's like more of that forehead area, like not really in the chin. So I liked that Sean O'Malley took this fight because now I'm excited to see it. But I think he's going to either be running or he's going to be fighting Piotr. And I think that I just what happens in the third round when he's getting pressured by a guy who's just elite, who's got really big power, who's tough, who's a Terminator. He's not just going to fuck him up like while moving backwards like he did to Chris Moutinho. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's gonna get lit up too. He's gonna
I
have to be in a war, and I don't know if he can last in a war with Piotr Jan. Piotr
yeah.
Jan's been proven. He's been to war with Aldo. He's fought, in a tough. He like
Riot
got hit.
people.
Aljamain Sterling landed good striking on him in the first fight. He's fought lots of good guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think people
Corey
forget.
Sanhagen, he's been in a war with Corey, and he came out on top, like beat up Corey in the later, like you know what I mean.
I
So
think people forget how good Peter Yan's resume is.
they
They
do
look
because of
at
Aljamain's
they look
recent
at those
fight. And
Aljo things and they're like, oh, this guy's not that great. But before the Aljo fight, the first Aljo fight, let's say the knee thing didn't happen.
yeah,
Like, let's say he finished that fight, like he won by
he
decision.
wouldn't have fought Aljo again.
He wouldn't have fought Aljo,
He would have fought Corey.
and he would have beat
He would have fought
Corey.
Corey again. He would have
Obviously,
beat Corey.
he would have fought. Then he would have fought Dillashaw. Would have beat Dillashaw.
Yeah,
And at that point, people would start calling him
like the goat,
the
bro.
goat of the division.
Yeah.
People forget how good this guy is.
And he
Like,
only
seriously.
lost to Aljo due to like getting
And
his
he's
back
not having
taken.
his
That's
corner.
not how
He
Sean
never-
O'Malley's going to win this fight. Like
He also
he's
didn't have his
never
corner.
lost due to striking, bro.
He also didn't have his corner in this fight.
Yeah, and again, like Sean O'Malley, Sean O'Malley like barely did anything to Pedro Munoz. I know he checked a lot of his kicks, but he didn't land any good
He
offense.
seemed scared, honestly. He seemed a little
Yeah, he
scared.
seemed very tentative. He wasn't. He didn't really look like he was trying to engage. He was worried in that fight.
Yeah, I think like if you're worried in that fight, what's gonna happen when you
He's
fight?
got to let his hands go. That's his only chance.
Oh
Otherwise, it'll
no,
just be
his
inevitable
only
that he's going to
chances.
get finished.
Oh yeah, he has to come out. I think both these guys' methods to victory are gonna have to come out aggressive.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I genuinely think this will be a really good fight. Is it going to be a war? I don't know.
I think it's gonna be a
It'll,
very high level
it'll
strike.
be high level striking, but I think Petr Yan gets it done by decision or by TKO.
I'm gonna say decision. I'm
I
gonna
think
say this.
he get it done by decision. I
I
think
think
you think he hurts Sean because how is like if he wins by decision and he doesn't hurt Sean, how's he going to win? He's not the biggest volume striker.
it's
I
true.
think his I think his way to victory is by
You know
dropping.
what? You know what? I do think he'll knock him down once.
That'll win him the round. Yeah.
Which could win him. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'll say. I'll say he knocks him down once in the first or third round.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. I think he's gonna win by decision, but I think after this fight, we're not gonna be like Sean O'Malley got smoked or anything. I think we're gonna
Yeah.
be like, okay, Sean O'Malley's an elite fighter. You know what I'm saying?
I
He's an
agree.
elite fighter. He may have lost to Petr Yan, but most guys lose to Petr Yan. You know, he probably could beat most guys in the division. And I think that'll be it. Like props to Sean for taking this fight. I just don't know if business wise this was the best fight for him to take. I think this was a more of an emotional move for him. I think this was he was talking about in his podcast that he like 2 weeks later after that whole Pedro Munez fight, he agreed to this fight.
Yeah, he was probably upset because
Yeah, he was probably upset. And
stock didn't raise at all.
People were saying he lost that first round. And
Yeah.
I think he was like, he let his ego get to him. He's like, oh, then he's like, oh, all right, I'll fight Petr Yan. And I think now, like you said, like he's starting to be like, as the days come on, it's like, oh, he's a really good fighter. Like, I don't know, you know. So
Exactly.
I think he is a little worried about this fight, but like you said, he is going to be training harder for that. So I think we're going to see the best of both these guys, which is going to be super entertaining. And I think it will lead to a very entertaining fight overall. So I'm excited for that.
I